Hello Gearslads, Stijn from This and Rocket Science here. I have here the Fenix IV prototype, and I can tell you something about the structure of the synthesizer. It's a complete modular synthesizer, so we tried to make it as easy to use as possible, of course. We have categorized the system into color blocks. There's the yellow block, which has all the sound sources. That has the input for external input. It has 3 different oscillators with a whole bunch of options to choose from. There's the orange block, which has all the envelopes. Then there's the red block, which has the modulation and the noise source. There's the dark blue block, which contains all the different filters that we have. And the light blue block, which has all the effects. Between all this, to sort of blend into the background, there's the gray blocks, which are utility blocks that have all the mixers and the sequencer, CV summers and the master output. And in between there's some tiny gray utilities that we thought might fit better inside the patching block, like the rectifier is in there, there's a ring modulator, and there's a tiny button you can press if you just want to trigger something in your patch. So yeah, that's about it. Then there's the color coding. We kept consistent between where the blocks are here and here. So if you shrink the whole synthesizer, you end up with the yellow is here, the blue is there, the light blue is there, and the orange and red in between. And then within each block, we also kept the structure that everything goes from top left to bottom right. So all the modulation, it starts top left and the signal comes out bottom right. Audio signals go in bottom left, and all the jacks are individually color coded and have a direction, so you can see if there are inputs and outputs, or gates, or audio, or just CV signals. Yeah, so we try to sort of keep some order in the mess. It's complicated enough as it is, so anything that we can do to help you understand your own patches, we try to do.
How about the filters? What kind of filters are they?
The filters that are in here are, well, 2 of them we took from the classic Fenix II, the ladder filter and the low pass gate. The state variable filter was also in the Fenix, but we made a redesign which has a twist that it's instead of low pass and high pass outputs, it has low pass, high pass and band pass inputs, so you can crossfade by keeping the low frequencies from one source and the high frequencies from another source. Can do all kinds of interesting effects with that. Then the multiband filter that's on here is actually it's going to change entirely. That will be the follow-up of the Formant filter. This is a failed prototype, so to be continued. One of them is the Fenix oscillator as it existed on Fenix 1 and 2. Then the third one is also an analog oscillator. It has 3 oscillators, 3 analog oscillators that are digitally tuned, so you can play chords with it and you can interpolate between chords. And we'll have some options here that you can also do just intonation and other tonal experiments with it. Then the digital oscillator is a collection of algorithms that are non-standard waveforms, because there's already enough pulses and sawtooths in the synthesizer, so we try to do phase-distorted FM, wavetable, and overtone singing almost. It's a filter, a resonant filter with CV tracking, so you can play melodies with the filter frequencies. And then the input, of course, for external input, it gives you an envelope tracker and a gate threshold, so you can drive the synthesizer with your voice or other external instruments. Then we have the noise generator. The noise generator is a big story on its own, because the original Fenix had digital and analog noise, but we added a wider range of analog noise colors. And the digital noise, you can change the probabilistic nature of it. So you can change the random distribution from Poisson curves to beta distributions to flat white noise or quantized noise in time and in space. So there's a lot of options to explore there. The LFOs we kept mostly the same, except for the wobbler. The wobbler is taken from our wobbler module. We were so happy with that LFO that we couldn't resist putting it here as well. The envelopes, orange blocks, came from the Fenix II as well. We didn't change much there, except made it work within our voltage ranges. The phaser is the same analog phaser as the Fenix II. Wave multiplier is a really interesting wave segment builder from the Fenix II as well. wave shaper is from the Fenix 2 design. The delay line is a completely redesigned digital system with much longer delay and 1 per octave tracking and a reverb and a chorus and some other effects that you might want in a synthesizer like this. Then the sequencer is completely redone. It was completely analog, but it's now completely digital for stability reasons and some functionality. And there's the scope module. There's an oscilloscope that you can use to inspect your signals. Maybe I can get some signal out of there. So there we go. So we have the tiny, you can see your waveforms wiggling around. There's a USB MIDI gate CV interface and 3 clock sources, a block of 5 VCAs and 2 mixer channels with their own VCAs and panning and headphone output. And that's pretty much the whole Fenix by now.
I see a lot of patch points.
Yes, there's 330 patch points on this machine, 110 knobs and 70 buttons. Most of them are normalized to ground because for interference reasons, just to make sure it passes all the electrical inspections. Some of them, like the white noise, goes into the sample and hold. Those make sense to pre-patch. We tried keeping all the other pre-patching to a minimum because we found out in our research for this device that everybody has a completely different style of patching the Fenix, and we don't really want to force any patch on people if they already have their own workflow. There's going to be so many patch cables in front of the machine. If there's also patch cables behind the machine, you lose oversight. So we kept it as straight as we could.
How about control? How do you play it? Is it MIDI capable or?
Yes, it's CV capable, of course. It's MIDI capable. It has USB MIDI compliant. So there's a USB plug and a MIDI plug on the backside. You get 4 CV gate outputs here. You can, of course, patch in anything you want. There's an internal sequencer, which has a lot of patch points to connect stuff in the system, so you can have a lot of fun with just the device and nothing else. But we made it so it fits well into a modern studio. So it has 2 big TINRS jacks on the back for output, 1 TINRS input, and of course the MIDI things to hook it up. I'm going to be playing a simple patch on the Fenix where all 3 oscillators are fed through their own VCAs. They're all triggered by their own envelopes, and then they're all fed through the same phaser. The sequencer will be driving the gates one by one, or the envelopes one by one, so you can hear them 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3, and here we go. So the sequence running.
Okay, thank you very much.
No problem.